So my name is Rohan Gupta. I'm a senior at University of Illinois at Champaign.
Okay.
So this should be pretty interesting because my company is actually in the same market as your latest venture, Citizinvestor.
Okay.
So we are a crowdfunding platform for local, designed to fund local projects for cities, towns, and universities. So we help local raise more money. We help people fund projects they care about and influence their community. But what we really view ourselves as a platform for governments to connect to their communities. And our value really comes in data analytics and what we call intelligent incentivization to optimize donation rates as well as community engagement. So my question is, how do you navigate the bureaucratic structures of your customers in order to sell them your product?
So I have a question. So what's the name of the company?
Bilder, Bilder.
I saw that actually somewhere. Okay, cool. So, we're talking about selling to government, right? Because that's different than selling. Public and private sector are very different in who you're selling to. So are we talking about public sector?
Yes.
Okay.
Municipalities.
That's more bureaucratic. So I will tell you, there's some things from the corporate world bleed over into that. So probably the best book I've ever read is a book called Selling to Veto. Have you ever heard of that book? VITO.
No.
So very important top officer is what it stands for. I think if you look it up, and Tony Parinello is the author. I think you can even download the PDF for free now. But it talks about how to talk to the top officer, which in the case of government, right, might be the chairman of the commissioners, or it might be the city manager, or the mayor. It depends on the size of the municipality, right? Like who your ultimate decision maker is in there. But it talks about the things that motivate them. My personal opinion is now in government, they don't have any money is the biggest problem. Hence the reason for like what we do as Citizinvestor, right? And kind of what you guys are trying to do with raising public, private funds to help with public projects, right? So I think that book is a great book. There's also another program called Target Account Selling. And Target Account Selling is, it's a platform. It's crazy expensive, but you can find some stuff online about it. But the premise of it is that there are champions and advocates and things like that inside of the organization, right? No matter what the organization is. I think in government, are you guys primarily, because you're doing more things about building buildings and parks and things like that, right?
Yeah, building amenities for community. So
it's an infrastructure component, but not a core infrastructure component. So it's more, well, I guess some of it could be core infrastructure. I think you're dealing with a lot of, so you're dealing with the budget guys, right? So maybe the city manager or county administrator, right? And then that's probably the person who has to sign off in the end, but probably not the person who's actually making the decision, right? So it's the county commissioners, if it's a county making the decision, right? They're voting on it, but there's got to be money. So you're having to deal with, good Lord, those guys, and then deal with the county administrator on the finance side, right?
Yeah.
Who tends to be the person that is your biggest supporter?
Well, we're still in like earlier phases of like customer discovery in the public sector. We've done pretty intensive research in universities, but so our hypothesis is that people who like Parks and Rec departments, etc., like people who have like a vested interest in getting these funds but don't have access to these funds, and also mayors, etc., people who want to better engage the community,
right.
And so we think that those two people will be our biggest supporters.
So here's my opinion. When it comes to politicians, I'd love to tell you that I think they're all nice, but they're not. So the reality is they care what their constituents care about. That's what they care about, who's going to elect them the next time. So if there's a component of your platform that allows you to demonstrate support for a project, I would leverage that to influence them. That's the quickest way to them. If you've got 500 people who like a particular project, then you can certainly go to, the person who represents those constituents and say, hey, you really need to pay attention because this number of people want to support this project. They'll help fund it, but you kind of need to listen up, because if you don't, then there's kind of the other side of that equation. When it comes to so I'll finish that and I'll go to universities. I think outside of that, on the government side, you have to figure out who has the most power in that circle, right? I would, if you can get an advocate, maybe who's not even them in the organization, it could be even somebody outside who influences them. That's usually one of the biggest tickets to that. If there's ways you can use the tools that you have on the community side to present metrics to those people, that's the quickest way to get them to take action, particularly if you can show that you can help fund that or a portion of that. So that, say, for instance, the municipality is only having to come up with a portion of the money, right? Like for us, we run matching projects. So one of the options on our platform is matching projects or phased projects. So you could even take what you guys are doing if you're not doing crowdfunding and leverage that project and crowdfund it on our site if you wanted to, right? And we'd be completely supportive of that. In the educational institution, right, the university level, my guess is you're looking for the money to come from the alumni. Is that an accurate guess? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So the quickest way to universities is to leverage the alumni who are going to write the biggest checks. Straight up, like you can look at it any way you want, but that's absolutely the ticket there. So in approaching them and making sure that whatever it is that you want to do or what's going to happen at the university aligns with what those people's values are, because then it's going to be a unified front. It's much harder for the university to say no in those kind of scenarios. I actually, to be honest with you, I think that the university life cycle is quicker than the government life cycle. Because of that, because there's a quicker influence, so you may make more headway, or at least enough headway to build up your cash flow while you're going after the other portion. Because a lot of stuff that happens in a city or a county, cities may be a little bit quicker, particularly smaller ones, because they can react. But things that go like a big county, like for instance, like Hillsborough County, where James is sitting right now, that's like a 2-year process. I mean, it's painful as a startup, and it requires a lot of extra money to keep your doors open during that time period. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And thanks so much for answering. Like, it definitely helps.
Hey, there's a really cool podcast you might want to listen to called GovLove. Do you ever listen to that?
No. But.
You might want. So it's the guys are out of Raleigh that put it together, and they go through and talk about different municipalities all across the U.S. And what's going on in those. It might be a really great lead source for you to kind of see which kind of trends are bubbling up. I think they do it once a week, but okay. You can download it on any of the podcast sites.
Okay, definitely. I'll definitely check that out. Thank you so much.